After Call of Duty Next, I was already fairly excited for the release of the new Warzone, but some new information has released today from Raven Software that I feel is some of the most exciting changes that we're going to see to the new Warzone releasing in December. Now, there's a lot to get into here in terms of what's been revealed and what's been announced, but there is a big highlight feature that I feel really underpins some of the more intelligent design processes that have gone into the new Warzone. We now have Raven Software firmly back at the wheel, and the first set of changes I think are a massive improvement over anything we've seen in Warzone yet. And that is how your perk system and equipment system is going to work. Now, for those of you who aren't aware, the Modern Warfare 3 perks will not be coming over to Warzone. Warzone is going to keep a standalone version of its own perks that will develop with new ones specifically for Warzone, which we'll talk about and show you some of later. But one thing that they announced today was a big bonus, and that is how the movement and traversal system is going to formally work. Now, at a basic level, everything is being upgraded in order to fit with Modern Warfare 3. Faster movement, more fluidity, and everything just working as intended. But today specifically, we have more specifics that look fantastic. By default in the new Warzone, everybody will have access to certain pieces of equipment in Modern Warfare 3 all of the time. To start with, we have tack pads, which improve the slide distance and allow for ADSing while sliding with increased transition speeds from sliding to standing. We also have commando gloves, which allow you to reload while running, quick grip gloves, which allow you to swap your weapons faster, climbing boots, which increases the climbing and mantling speed, and also overkill by default, allowing you to pick two primary weapons. And all of these are available to everybody, regardless of your other perks, regardless of your loadout. You're always going to have overkill, you're always going to have the climbing boots, quick grip gloves, commando gloves, and tack pads. Everyone is getting this universal change, and I think it's such a massive improvement. Now, in my opinion right now, the perk system in Warzone just doesn't work, because you spend most of your time equipping different perks that aim to fix the lack of fluidity in the game. You very rarely end up picking perks that actually complement your playstyle or offer something generally beneficial to yourself or your teammates. And one of your three perk slots in your loadout, unless you manage to get two loadouts in a single game, is always taken up by overkill, meaning that you can't have different varieties of perk packages unless you get two drops, which isn't always a guarantee in a battle royale. With these changes, you'll no longer have to use your perks in order to fix the lack of fluidity in the game, and you also won't have to be a dependency on overkill. You can actually select three perks which will genuinely be beneficial to your playstyle and offer you something more, rather than three perks which try to give you the things you need and fix things in the game for you. The other flip side to this is something I've wanted Call of Duty to do for a very long time, and that is create real general readability about how the game operates. By default, everybody is going to have the same movement system, the same movement speed, and the same general interactions with the map and flow of gameplay. And because you have that by default, it means that when you're reading reload speeds on enemy opponents, or how long it'll take them to mantle a wall, or how defendable your position is, or how they're going to approach a slide around a corner, those items and actions are universal by default. There are no weird surprises that you don't expect, no random perks promoting behaviors that you aren't anticipating, and it generally just makes the game much more readable and easier to digest, both at a top flight level of gameplay and just a standard level of gameplay. There are a couple of other really good changes in this blog post detailing what's coming to Warzone at the basis of its release, including the return of Plunder as a guaranteed mode at launch. Now, that may sound really underwhelming and not interesting to the majority of players, but it actually is, and the reason for that is because if you haven't purchased Modern Warfare 3, Plunder is going to be a fantastic way to level up your weapons, and I'm really glad it's returning. It's a really good opportunity for people who weren't interested in paying for the premium product, being able to catch up, level up their guns really fast, and get into the gameplay as soon as possible. So I'm a huge fan of seeing Plunder return, and I think it's a really big bonus. And of course, 48 hours after the release of the new map in Warzone, you're going to have the return of Ashika Island and Vondel. So if for whatever reason you don't want to play the big map, or you're only interested in playing Resurgence with the new movement mechanics, you'll be able to do that immediately 48 hours after release. Now, for those of you who missed some of the coverage at COD Next or didn't see any of the videos I put out, there are also some other improvements like having a pistol whenever you're climbing a ladder, ledge hanging, or when you're swimming underwater. There's also improved water combat in terms of visibility and being able to see players underwater or vice versa. There is a manual gas mask animation now, and the gas mask also negates the effects of tear gas grenades. There is now dedicated ammunition slots as well in every single backpack, meaning that you won't need to stow extra ammunition anymore. It will simply be picked up automatically in one of your automated ammo backpack slots. Colored loot rarity is returning as well, allowing you to easily, color-codedly pick up whatever is around you in terms of rare loot, whether that's purple, gold, whatever it so happens to be. You'll be able to have a bit more of an inkling in terms of whether ground loot is worth something you're using, or if it's a grey ground loot, a blue one, a purple, so on or so forth. It'll also allow you to more easily spot certain kill streaks and other items on the ground. Contracts are now activated via laptop instead of a small telephone device, allowing you to more easily see where the contracts are located. There is also an improved TAC map with easily more distinguishable icons. Classic red dots return to Warzone as well. If you're not using a suppressor, you will appear on the minimap. And there is now an improvement to loot spreading to stop the amount of loot overlapping on each other and make them easier to identify. And on top of all of this, it's worth mentioning that all of the quality of life improvements that have been made to Warzone 2 are carrying over. They're not starting from scratch again. This isn't a reset from day zero. Things like having a codcaster and private matches are going to be there from day one. Things like the improvements to ping icons, not being able to ping people through smoke, and all the just little things that have come up across the year are things that won't be changing. They're all going to be improvements and QOL fixes that will be there from day one. This isn't a hard reset, and if there's something you've grown to appreciate about Warzone 2 in terms of how it's fixed something, that is going to be there from day one in the new version of Warzone. There is also some new items in the game that you may have missed from COD Next, for example, a movable and drivable train, horizontal zip lines, and a brand new vehicle as well, the Coyote, which is like a small, fast ATV style vehicle. There is also a big game bounty contract returning to the game. There is also a brand new public event in the game called the Flyby, which will drop multiple brand new buy stations across the Warzone map at any given moment in the game. And for those of you interested in Strongholds, Strongholds are entirely gone now. They are now a limited time public event, meaning that there will be a chance for Strongholds to spawn in certain instances, making them an item for you to contest on the map with other players, but they won't always be there by default. We of course have the brand new Gulag, and there's lots of additional in-game content revolving around Christmas, with a zombified Santa Claus coming to the game, a winter setting for the map of Urzikstan, and seemingly some sort of Terminator Santa Claus event where this Santa will effectively chase you down in a resurgence mode. Very interested to see what happens with that. And finally, the perk system that I mentioned before has a bunch of new perks coming to it. We have Irradiated, which allows you to move faster and take less damage whilst you're in the gas, which is a huge change. Tempered is returning, of course, which gives you 2 plates instead of 3. Combat Scout is returning, which briefly pings enemies for you and your squad when you hit them with damage. Resolute is a brand new perk, which when you take damage from gunfire grants a temporary bonus to movement speed. Shrouded is a new perk that lets you drop a smoke grenade when you get downed. Mountaineer is a new perk that reduces your fall damage. Stalker is a new perk that increases the strafe speed, aim down sight speed, and movement speed of your weapon. Escapist is an increased movement speed buff whilst you're downed, prone, or crouched. Primed is a new perk with accuracy and time to ADS improved while jumping. And Faculty is a brand new perk which delays the triggering of explosives while sprinting and warns you of nearby enemy equipment and reduces combat noise. So things like claymores on the floor, for example, won't trigger when you run through them, they'll be delayed, and seemingly it sounds like you're getting Bone Conductor from Modern Warfare 3. Overall, it feels like these are some seriously good upgrades for Warzone and a bunch of new varieties of perks that I'm very much looking forward to. It really feels like Warzone is getting the standalone approach that it deserves, with mechanics and perk systems that make sense for it, and a general flow of gameplay that feels more in sync with what suits Warzone as opposed to what suits the individual COD game that happens to release at that time. And of course, in Season 1 Reloaded later on in the year, we're going to have the return of things like the nuke contract. In early 2024, we're getting ranked as well. And we have the return of Rebirth Island happening as well, alongside Fortune's Keep. So at a very basic level, with this brand new release of Warzone, There's a lot going on that looks really positive, and already, before these future seasons have even been revealed, there is a lot of really good potential in terms of content, releases, and good things that are coming to the game. That's made me a huge fan of what's coming up, and I'm very excited to dive into the new Warzone. Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.